and welcome to another Pipe of Pearl. Today this Pearl is going to explore options of gathering subjective data and looking at whether or not AMPLE is set up in your best interest or whether there's another option that you can try. So AMPLE's been around for a long time. It has amazing marketing, amazing publicity. It's changed a few times over the years to include an S at the start for sample, to include signs and symptoms. But if it's an acronym and if it's designed to help obtain a history, as it's often poised to obtain, to me it's always been a bit lackluster, a bit short in providing it. Because if you're going to provide an acronym, it generally implies that there's a precedence in order. You follow the acronym in order to gather the right evidence first. And it also should be complete in gathering the information. If you have an acronym that you need to remember in grabbing subjective data, but doesn't actually cover off on all the points that you need to follow in order to get all the right information, then it doesn't really work for me. So I'm going to offer an alternative that I use and I've come up with. So you won't find it marketed. I'm not very good at marketing myself, nor will I even try. So this is a true Pipe of Pearl, if you will. It's come straight out of my practice. Use it if you want. Don't use it. Just know that when things are put in place that aren't legislated as a requirement, you can alter the situation to improve your environment and your practice. So starting off, let's have a look at why I have such a problem with AMPLE. So AMPLE or sample starts with signs and symptoms, or it starts with allergies. Now, if you're starting a consultation with those things, then you're not really establishing rapport. Okay? It's just, you're starting off, you need to listen to the patient first, get them to tell you their story, and then go from there. Establish that rapport initially. Don't just jump in to explain your signs and symptoms, tell me your allergies. It just doesn't work. Now, when we're looking at the first two, which is allergies and medications, these things are absolutely vital information to obtain. But sometimes, if we get it too early, they're often used most of the time to inform the plan, inform what sort of pharmaceutical support we're going to give. It can provide information towards sensitivities and adverse effects, but often if you get that information first, it can trap your mind in a certain way of thinking as you've already found the answer, and adverse effects aren't as common in younger demographic as people would like to think. It's definitely a possibility, but it's not always the case. So it's always better to investigate the lifestyle and the pathogen possibilities and then couple it with adverse effects or sensitivity information to either provide an answer or provide an alternative answer in your plan and potential diagnosis. When you look at the L, which is last oral intake, it's not always relevant. And this has been known for a long period of time. So there's other amples and samples out there that will include things like last menstrual cycle, always last dietary intake, last vaccination, all these other little add-ons that all start with last, but it's still very limiting. It has zero flexibility and it doesn't provide diverse investigation within that subjective space. And when you look at the event, well, the event should come first because that's why they've come. What are the events that led up to you coming to the med center? So that should really be the first thing in order to aid in establishing rapport. Now, you may be sitting here thinking, I don't need an acronym to do my job. Okay, I already know what I'm doing. I've been doing this a long time. And if that's the case, fantastic. Keep doing what you're doing. There's no problems at all. But if you're starting out your career, if you're starting or getting back into primary healthcare, and you're starting to maybe want to improve the way you conduct a consultation, then having a useful acronym can help guide you. So if it does, great. If it doesn't, keep doing what you're doing. The art of obtaining subjective data in literature has been reduced significantly over the past decade or so. So the importance of subjective data in clinicians has taken a backseat to objective investigations and blood tests and things like that. So when you're in an environment that doesn't provide you or afford you the opportunity of these robust investigations, sometimes a good subjective investigation and a complete subjective investigation can be your best arsenal. So let's have a look at EPSAM. EPSAM stands for Event, Past History, Subjective Investigation, Allergies, Medications. So to me, that flows everything you need to know in a logical order when moving from subjective into objective into plan when doing a primary healthcare assessment. So let's talk about a few of the advantages of EPSAM in my opinion. So as I've mentioned, event is first. It aids rapport, you understand what's going, and based on the event that they've told you, it will tailor what sort of past history you're going to obtain and what sort of investigation you're going to do as well. So when you're dealing with past history, you don't always have to ask every possible history imaginable. You get a history of the event, and then you get circumstantial history based on what you're dealing with. Family history is not always useful. Okay, matter of fact, most primary healthcare presentations is not useful at all. Migraines is probably the best you're going to get. But things like social history, sexual history can be quite useful in certain situations. And it can lead to your subjective investigation. So things that you ask during past history can lead into subjective investigations. Now this can include your PQRST, your specific questioning that need to be asked for certain signs and symptoms in order to rule out red flags, in order to gain more information and narrow down your differential diagnosis. So the use of subjective investigation means everything's open. Everything's open, and that's where you get the specific questioning comes in to obtain the best information. We never forget allergies and medications, but we do it at the end for the reasons discussed, that if it is an adverse effect or a sensitivity that can explain the event, then that's great. But we don't just jump on that for starters and then end the consultation. We add it to the information in order to be better informed. Now, allergies and medication are obviously important as well when you're thinking about dispensing pharmaceutical support. Okay, allergy is obvious, but also medications. When you're getting a medication history, make sure you get all the stuff that's been prescribed, all the stuff that haven't been prescribed, and all the natural therapies and things like that they take as well, because it all can interact. Okay, think of it this way: is every pharmaceutical has come from this planet. So really every pharmaceutical is a version of natural therapy. It's just been tailored and marketed a bit better in order to have more quantified results or more interpretable results than some alternative therapies. Now, when you're using EPSAM as opposed to sample or ample, to me, it just flows better with the consultation. It gives you that memory peg of things that you need to ask, building the information in order to aid in or tailor your objective investigation that you're going to do, and then all that information can be used in your assessment before coming up with your complete plan. So there it is. Like I said, I'm under no illusion whatsoever that EPSAM is going to replace ample or sample. The marketing of ample is way too high for me to even try to tap in. By no means is this a mandate that you must now use EPSAM from this point on. It's just a means of opening up a little bit of discussion, a little bit of thought in what we're trying to obtain when doing questioning in our consultation, especially in primary healthcare. It's an art that is slowly degrading, and it's very important in our line of work in particular. But until next time, take care.